And welcome to the Great American Mail YouTube channel. This is the biggest story of the day, March 14th, 2022. The biggest story of today, and it was a slow news day, but the biggest story of today, and even though it was a slow news day, was the announcement over the weekend of a couple of things from the Biden administration. A lot of people are getting this wrong, so I thought I'd bring you up to speed on this. The first thing that they get wrong is Kamala's speech. Now, Kamala spoke over the weekend to an audience, and this was an audience, a largely Democrat audience, and this is one of those meetings where you go to somebody big like the vice president or the president or somebody in the cabinet comes and tells you what you're going to talk about during the midterms. And so let's hear from Kamala. This is what she told the party faithful they need to campaign on this heading into November. Take a listen to Kamala. It might help if I get it right.
Our task is to show people that in many ways they got what they ordered. Right? They said this is what they wanted. They stood in line. They took time from work. It was difficult. And a lot of what they demanded, they got. And so let's get out there as we do and remind them of that.
So a lot of people sort of panned Kamala and said she doesn't know what she's talking about. Even her own audience didn't really clap, and she got it wrong, and it's just buffoonish. And because a lot of reasons people think that is because they think the way we think, not the way they think. Kamala is absolutely right. Now, we're going to have to play a bit from Biden to explain exactly why she's right. But believe me, they got everything they wanted. They may not have wanted the inflation, but inflation is not important to these people. So let's take a look at what President Joe Biden had to say over the weekend. Here's Joe Biden speaking in front of his audience about the fact that he's had it up to here about inflation. But then I want you to take a very close listen to what he says afterwards. This is the key part. And these are the types of things that Kamala is referring to, and that they've got what they voted for. Take a listen to the president. Here he is.
So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true. I don't think we need any lectures from our friends on the other side about fiscal responsibility, for God's sake. Look, we have an ambitious agenda, so let's go get it done. That includes standing up for and not giving an inch on core democratic values. We're going to continue to stand up to meet the great challenges of our time: voting rights, climate change, gun violence, criminal justice, immigration, and so much more. Coming out of the State of the Union, I think we're in a strong position. We have a record to be proud of. An agenda will lower costs for American families and lift this nation up. And the message that resonates: we're building a better America, a fair America, a more decent America, a country that's been through a lot these past few years.
So Biden is exactly right in terms of what they're getting, and Kamala is right to say that. So if you understand that those two together, you understand that that's the biggest story of the week, okay, or the biggest story of today, actually. And basically is that. And you heard Biden, so let's go through them. He said, here's what they've gotten and what they voted for. Voting rights. They've absolutely gotten the types of voting rights that they wanted. They may not have passed those bills. That would have been a complete overhaul. That would have been a slam dunk. But they've basically beaten back everything that the Republicans have tried to do. In other words, the election and the way we vote is more like 2020 than it would have been in 2016, which disfavors them. They've gotten all the climate things that they want. I mean, all the fossil fuels, shutting all that down, all those leases, they've absolutely gotten that. The gun violence, they're cracking down on guns. You're not allowed to have guns. The criminal justice reform, defunding the police, letting violent criminals go, not have to spend any time in jail. Immigration, he mentioned immigration there as well, right? That's what they want. Believe me, they want the invasion that is immigration in this country right now. And one thing that he didn't mention, but I think also that they've gotten, is the sort of neo-racism of the Democrat Party these days. In other words, they've passed several bills. Now, a couple of them have been struck down as unconstitutional, but they've passed several bills that have absolutely provided that if you are a white person, you go to the back of the line. If you're a black person, you go to the front of the line. And if you look at the judges that Biden has appointed, most of them have been black females and persons of color. Now, again, That's not equality. That's not Martin Luther King, judge me not by the content or the color of my skin, but the content of my character. But that's exactly what they want. So to me, that was the biggest story of the day. A lot of people got both of them wrong. The fact that Biden's upset and he's had it up to here about the inflation, we all know that he's lying about that. And also, just by the way, we're going to get more of it because he's not reversing course. So he's refusing to accept reality, so inflation's only going to get worse. But the big thing about that Biden speech was him listing those things that are the Democrat priorities, and they have been getting them. And then dovetailing that with Kamala, who was down there saying, hey, voters, you need to remember you got what you voted for. Let me just translate this and we'll wrap it up. Basically, you understand this. They need to understand that if you don't vote for Democrats in the fall, then you're going to see more fossil fuel drilling, no more climate stuff. You're going to see voting go back to the old way, which you have to actually show up in person or have an excuse to vote. You're going to have, people are going to have Second Amendment rights. Criminals are going to have to go back to jail. And we're going to have a reasonable immigration system where you have to come here legally. So they did get what they voted for, and I think you're going to see Democrats reminding people of that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, tune back in. We're going to try to do more of these as we get the hang of it. We wanted to do it daily, and as it turns out, we've had some struggles with YouTube shutting us down for some things, so we're working through that. Anyway, please subscribe and tune back in for the next one. Should be tomorrow, but if not, we'll be back soon.